Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that we may glorify your name. We ask that we may be open to your call. We ask that we may be channels of your love, that all may know, love, and serve you in the way we are called to do so in our baptismal call made by you in service to you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today, of course, is Tuesday of the second week of Ordinary Time, and our saint today is an interesting guy. He's Saint Anthony the Abbot, and I think he would also be known as Saint Anthony of the Desert, but anyway, Saint Anthony the Abbot. And basically, one of the sources I saw said that he was the founder of monasticism, which may in fact be true, but he lived as a hermit. And there's a difference between living in a monastery and living as a hermit. Having lived as a hermit myself, granted for short periods of time, but I've done it. And I've told you my favorite oxymoron, which is what I did. I lived with a community of hermits out in the western deserts. Now, what is the difference between the monastic life and living as a hermit? It's really simple. There are plenty of monasteries in the area. There's one in Hingham. There is the Glastonbury Abbey, which is a monastery down there in Hingham, Massachusetts. First of all, it's right on the, what is it? The Greenwich, now I forgot the name of the line. But anyway, it's the South Shore line on the commuter rail. It is right basically on the Hingham Hull line, Hingham Nantasket, Hingham Hull, and Cohasset. It's right in that area. It's Glastonbury. It's right on Route 228, Glastonbury Abbey. Now, that is a Benedictine abbey, and it's one where the Benedictines live as a community of priests and brothers, and they have a ministry, I think, mostly of some form of spiritual direction. So, and of prayer. You can go to Mass there, and I've done that. I did that before I was ordained, and it's a very fascinating place. So that's one form of monastic living. There's another monastery in the middle of the state, which is a stricter form of the Benedict way of life, and that is St. Joseph Abbey in Spencer, Massachusetts, which is the Cistercians, also known as Trappists. Thomas Merton was a Trappist, a Cistercian. He came from the one in Gethsemane, Kentucky. But now they have a ministry as well. Their ministry is working as retreat leaders. They run retreats up there. Very hard to get a retreat, by the way. I found that from one of the monks. He said that to sign up for a retreat, they open that up, the sign-ups, like the first day of certain months. I don't know how soon because I've never done a retreat up there. But they get filled up very quick because it's such a popular place to go. But that's a very quiet place. The Cistercians live a kind of a way of solitude, but they believe, as St. Benedict did, in prayer in work, ora in labores. And so their work is making Trappist jelly, among other things. They make blankets. They do other things. There's a women's abbey, Cistercian, down in, it's near, I can't think of the name. Anyway, I'll probably think of it before the end of the show. And they're known for making candy. And that is the Trappistine Abbey. So there's another one. So there's a two. Very strict form of living the Benedictine way, which, by the way, where St. Anthony was a hermit, so we'll go a little bit. We'll get to him in a minute. And then even further out west in Petersham, Massachusetts, is a male and female monastery. It is Saint Scholastica, and there's two names for the monastery, and I can't think of the two names. Saint Francis and Saint Scholastica. Would that be correct? Saint Benedict, Saint Scholastica. Saint Benedict, Saint Scholastica were brothers and sisters. But anyway, there's a monastery out in Petersham, Massachusetts. I believe it's on Route 32. And actually, I think it's called the Sacred Heart Monastery. And that's out there. And that is an even stricter form, because not only do they live in a form of monastery life, but they also live more further away from the civilization around them. So there's another monastery. It's one of there's another monastery that's called the Subiaco Monastery, that's out in Christ in the Desert Monastery in Abicu, New Mexico, and it is in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Literally. And it's like, if you really want to know what it's like to be, go watch old Star Trek episodes that take place on these deserted planets, and it's in that kind of an area, because that's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. And so that's another, and all these are different ways of being people who seek to have this deeper relationship with Christ by cutting off from the normal everyday life in the world. And you can do that for a week or for a couple of weeks. You can do that for a whole life, whatever you want to do. And this is a way of life, and that comes from the Benedictines. There's also the Franciscans that have a different way of life. There's also the Jesuits have a different way of life. But these monastery ways of living in a monastery or friary for the Franciscans, that's all part of Catholic life. Now, I want to talk about St. Anthony in a minute. You're listening to the voice of St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WEZE. We'll be right back right after this. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. And don't forget our own website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. Connects you to St. Anthony Parish. STAnthony.org is another way you can do that. And don't forget, you have a standing invitation to our 10 o'clock a.m. Mass on Sundays. So come check that out. We want to have discussions. So I'm kind of working on that right now. And if you have any ideas, you can always email that to us, or you can call and leave a message on our voicemail, which is over there, and as you've just heard, so consider that. CatholicAudiomedia.com, or you can come right to the website there, or the parish, STAnthonyAlston.org. So anyway, we're talking about this monastic living, and I just told you in Massachusetts, there's 3 forms of Benedictine monasteries. I also told you of a women's Benedictine or Cistercian monastery called the Trappistines. I knew I'd remember. That's in Wrentham, Massachusetts. I know the only way I'm saying there's an outlet. There's this outlet mall near there. What is the name? What is that? And I couldn't think of it. And then I remembered Wrentham, Massachusetts, which is somewhere near the outlet mall. But anyway. So there are these monasteries, and monastic living has been around for quite some time. Now, according to one of the sources I read, said that St. Anthony was the father of monasticism, but I don't see that. I think he was the father of living hermitage, a hermetic life. Now, that's similar to a monastery, except you're living alone. And I told you I've done that for a couple times. And if you do that, one of the interesting things that they would say is they want you to be careful, because if you go off and live alone when no one, not so much when no one's around, because I told you I live with a community of hermits. If I needed to find someone, I could always do that. But when you're actually living alone in a hermitage 24/7, it's a fascinating experience. You do get to listen to maybe tapes or listen to the radio or listen to whatever, however you want to do it. Did my own cooking, everything. I mean, I was just all by myself. I had a light a fire to have heat at night. I had to use I guess I did have electricity. Wow, we even had electricity. But it really was a life-changing experience. But you have to realize that you have to be the kind of person that can live alone 24/7 for as long as it may be. I loved it. Would I do it tomorrow? I'd do it tomorrow. But I know I'm not called to that lifestyle. And one of the things that they tell you, and you need to know, is people may think, well, you can escape the world by going to live in a hermitage. No, actually, you can't. Everything you would want to escape essentially within you comes with you because it's within you. So it's a whole different way, but it's a whole different way of existing, that you are bringing all of this to prayer and you're having this deep, profound relationship with God. So that's what St. Anthony first experienced, and he became a source of wisdom to other people. But what I read from the Vatican was that he taught to imitate what you want to become. So he would look for a holy man and imitate the holy man because he wanted to become a holy man. And, that model is also used for everything. If you want to become a great writer, you imitate great writers. But you see all that, and this is all part of some forms of Catholic vocation. We'll talk more tomorrow. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.